Hello and welcome back to the Brain Workshop. This is part 4 of the Wealth Tower.
Yeah.
Part 4?
Part 3.
Part 3.
Yeah.
We did. What was the first part? So the first part we looked at moving from sort of like the struggle area and moving to stability, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So we talked about how to move away from struggle to stability, you have to make sure you measure, you commit to conduct, and you do your duty, because that's what gives you sort of like the game plan.
Yeah.
It gives you all the code of conduct type thing. And then once you get into stability, for you to move from stability to the next level, then we talked about those other 3 things, didn't we?
Yeah.
Which was really more around the passion, pinpoint your passion,
set standards,
and
follow the flow.
Absolutely. So you get to that point there, right? And then so today we're going to talk about how you move from stability, because stability is good, it's important, but then we need to move to that next level. There's a next level there, which is more like success and almost like entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because we see this trend in a lot of the Bible heroes that we've talked about, the Josephs. We've seen where he was struggling, where he became a little bit stable, but he struggled obviously as slave and everything, and then all that kind of stuff. And then he moved into a level of stability in Pharaoh's house. He was doing well, but he was nowhere near his potential. So he knew there was another level. So that next level is what we're going to talk about today, isn't it?
Yeah, it's adding the flesh to the vision. It's literally the manifester. So you've got the vision and now you're manifesting. It's actually walking the walk.
Yeah. I think as we're talking about it, what excites me is no matter where we are on our journey, no matter to our viewers as well, no matter where you are, there's always that next level.
Yeah.
So if you feel restless, you feel, there's got to be more than this. That's great, because
there's definitely more.
So there's the potential is calling, is beckoning you to come to that next level. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that next level. Yeah. So the first thing we talked about, which excited you, was identity. Identity. You have to identify your identity. Yeah. And before I let you carry on with this bit, so we talked earlier on about imposter syndrome. So where I work currently for an organization that does a lot of like corporate training and coaching for professionals, and we find a lot of people, when they've been promoted to a new role, we're talking about moving up now, they move to a new level. This so-called imposter syndrome sets in because they feel all of a sudden that, I'm in an unfamiliar territory. Yeah. This isn't me. I used to be an administrator or an assistant, and now I'm a senior manager, and in the back of the mind, they're beginning to feel a little bit jittery. I know. Yeah, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about this whole idea of identifying your identity, and why it's important.
I think it's very important because it defines your role. The thing about when Jesus and his family went into Jerusalem, and Jesus was lost for 3 days, they didn't know where he was. The first thing that he said to his parents after they found him was that I was about my father's business.
Yes.
So he was aware of the mission. Then you see the next leg of his life. This is at 30.
Yeah.
He goes into the desert, comes out. He's literally been having that obscurity, that solitude, and he's able to detail what the mission is.
Yeah.
And he stands up before everybody and tells them now, Isaiah 61. He says, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me because he anointed me to do A, B, C, D. So he's identified the mission, set a mission statement as well. So he knows what he is meant to be doing. Very clear, concise mission and who he is.
That's so powerful, because it's really interesting to talk about the desert or the wilderness. When, first and foremost, the first thing we must point out is that it was the Holy Spirit that took him into the wilderness. So if you're listening out there, you're a person of faith, you find yourself in a wilderness, don't think, how did I get here? Trust that the Lord is guiding our steps, everything that we're doing. That's the first thing. Secondly, his identity was then put in question, was challenged by the enemy. If you are the Son of God, turn these stones into bread. If you are the Son. So this is where Jesus had to go. The Holy Spirit took him into that wilderness for him to establish his identity. Yeah. Now, did Jesus really, really need all of that? Maybe not. But God, the Holy Spirit, and the Son identified, they knew the importance of that process, and they took that process anyway.
Yeah. I mean, clarity is always found in solitude or in obscurity. We see the same
Say that again. Clarity is
always found either in solitude or in obscurity. It's where people come see you. The Father that sees you in secret shall reward you openly. So you can identify your gifts, you can identify your potential. You see that in David's life. In the when nobody sees him, he's killing the bear, he's killing the lion, he's in obscurity. But that moment defines his public moment. He's sorting out Goliath in front of everybody.
Yeah.
So he's honed his skills. He's identified himself as a powerful warrior. When he was facing Goliath, he had no doubts.
No doubts.
Absolutely
No doubts. No
because he
doubts.
identified himself.
He had too much courage. He had too much. He had the authority, which we'll talk about another time. So that's very, very good. Very, very good. I think that's very interesting. So identifying your identity. You've talked about the role, making sure that there is no doubt about your role, what you're supposed to do. That's part of the identity. In obscurity, you get more clarity about your purpose and who you are and what has been deposited in you.
Jesus was very clear. I am the door.
Yeah.
I am the good shepherd.
Yeah.
He knew who he was.
Which leads to the second point. So as part of identifying your identity, we must have this clear message all the time. Let's go back to David. David said, you come with me with spear and with sword and with shield and everything like that, but I come to you in the name of the Lord, the Most High. So there was that messaging as well that comes with his identity. So as part of this journey towards that next level, even the way we speak, if people ask you, what do you do? Be very, very clear. I'm a business owner. I'm a kingdom financier. I'm an entrepreneur. This is what I do. Be unabashful. Don't be afraid to just say exactly who you are.
Sometimes it might sound arrogant, but it is your identity. It is your calling. That's what you're called to.
Because Jesus says, I'm the light of the world.
Yeah. Who says that?
Exactly.
You have to know.
I am the light of the world, and it's true. And if he hesitated, if he mumbled, nobody would take him seriously. The power is in there. Yeah. So we've talked about the role and the message, and of course the tasks as well. So it's important as part of identify the identity, just making sure that we are fully conscious and competent, because we talked about that competence piece as well.
I mean, part of his mission statement in Luke 61 is what am I doing? I'm preaching to the poor.
Yeah.
Healing the brokenhearted.
Boom, boom, boom.
All identify clearly, all that is what you're honing your skills towards. You have a message. You know who you are. You have a message, and that's what you're doing.
It's powerful. Yeah. So to our audience, as you're listening right now, hone in your skills. Identify what it is you bring to the table. That's the way the power is really. Like you said, Jesus would say, I'm here to preach to the poor, to preach the good news. I'm here to heal. Joseph was an amazing administrator, and he could also interpret dreams. And that's what actually took him out of prison, because he used his gift, even though he could have been bitter and not actually use that gift. But because he had a good attitude, even in prison.
He knew his gift.
He knew his gift.
So when was it? The cupbearer left. He was telling him, tell Pharaoh about it. Because he knew where he stood. He knew his gift. He knew his power. He knew his ability to talk to Pharaoh about me. Because he had the skill. He had the knowledge. He knew what he was all about.
Know your gift. Embrace it. What else? Give me another word apart from embrace. Nurture it like a proud gardener. Cut out all the weeds, remove all the distractions, whatever it takes. Eliminate doubt and fear, and let your gift and your talent begin to emerge in a new and more powerful way than ever before.
Let it make room for you.
Let it make room for you. Absolutely. Let it make room for you. Okay, fantastic. So let's, that first thing is, as we talked about, is you have to establish your identity. That's the first leg of getting to that next level of the tower that we talked about, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So we've talked about that. So let us talk about master your market.
Okay, the scriptures are very, very clear about people that have mastered their gift. So you identify your gift, but you want to rise to the top. You're the go-to guy in that particular field. I think the Bible talks about Ezra as being a very skilled scribe.
Yeah.
So he had skill level that was higher than everybody else. So he's taking mastery. The same thing. You see in the case of Daniel and Joseph again. When they needed dream interpretation, there were other wise men, but these guys had mastered their field. They were at the top.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you really need to put the effort.
Absolutely. And I'm thinking of Moses. Moses' superpower, his gift was leadership, right? So, and isn't it funny how God had prepared him in the palace, gave him the very best training, took him into the wilderness to get a different kind of training.
More shepherding.
Exactly, more shepherding experience. And really this is about knowing the market, knowing the needs, understanding the terrain. So that when he came to Egypt, he understood the Egyptian terrain. They had to go through the wilderness. So he also understood the terrain of the wilderness, didn't he?
Yeah.
So, so it's very important to master the market. And then another thing, he began to really understand people.
Moses was unique in that you can see some of the things that I think this is probably one of the other steps that further on is that he was a bit overwhelmed several times. But I suppose we'll talk about it in the next section about it. Literally not spreading yourself too thin.
Yeah, so important. It's really important. So, since we're talking about mastering your market, which is know the needs of the market.
Yeah.
So, on the faith side of thing, and because we're talking faith and finance and spiritual, right? They're all interwoven, right? So, the whole idea of wealth generation is actually meeting the needs of other people. Because if you meet the needs of more other people, you know exactly what they want. And you have the value to exchange. You're building wealth, and you can continue to enhance that value that you bring in, and even continue to elevate and take it to new levels. And so that's why it's really important that as we are understanding the needs of our market, we find out, just like you said about Moses as well, he had to eventually, with the help of his father-in-law, find segments, because Jethro told him, he says, you're dealing with all these issues. You're dealing with petty issues. You're dealing with sort of like medium-sized issues. You're dealing with big issues. Segment. Find segment, and then you be the sort of like the Supreme Court.
I mean, what's the term we use? Outsourcing?
Outsource.
Yeah. You do the focal points, the big points.
Absolutely.
And then, just let the
absolutely. So important. So important. And I think that's where the systems come in. And so to get to that next level on the wealth tower, as you're mastering your market, you know the needs of the market, you're able to segment, you put the systems and processes in place, because you are one person, your energy is finite. And you need your energy to have those creative solutions for stuff. You need your energy to also manage the day-to-day. Because there's some day-to-day things you need to manage. You might even outsource that to managers, but you still need to manage the managers as well. You have limited energy to make decisions. And decisions, as when you get to that level, the decisions we make become a lot more significant. One wrong move can cause a lot of issues. So that's why it's important.
I think that's the difference between management and leadership.
Yes.
So leadership, you're focused on the end goal. Whereas managing, you're dealing with tasks.
Absolutely.
It's important for you to be able to separate the vision from the management of the small issues.
Because those little issues can suck you in, and you take your eyes off the big picture and the vision.
What's the phrase? Not seeing the
trees from the woods, or the woods from the trees.
Yeah,
we need to Google that.
Not seeing the forest for the trees. So you're so much into the trees, you don't see the big.
Absolutely, not seeing the forest for the trees. Good. So we don't need Google for that anymore. You've come to our rescue. So we do the segments, we look at different profiles, we put the systems in place, and good. So identify your identity is the first leg. Then we've looked at making sure you master the market, and then we're going to talk about monetizing the moments. This one is quite tricky.
It is tricky because you're adding value to something.
Yes.
And I think this is where we talked about outsourcing, and we had to look at the fact that Moses was in leadership. His first target was to get them from A to B. That was the mission. But then he started to deal with the smaller bits, dealing with small issues or squabbles. And obviously he got lost into the nitty-gritty instead of focusing on it. So you have to value
your time. I like that. Because we talk a lot about putting a value, almost a monetary value on your time. So do you have a monetary value on how much each hour is worth? Each hour of your day is worth. So for example, I know people who say they don't cut their own grass. Because why? They can pay someone £20, right, to do like a 90-minute job in their garden, because maybe they have evaluated or placed or valued their time at, say, 10 times that amount. £200 an hour is what my hour is worth. If I'm spending an hour and a half in the garden, rather than actually monetizing that time, either by designing some marketing program, looking at sales opportunities, maybe even designing more products, or optimizing those products, whatever, that 90 minutes. Of course, if you are mowing your lawn and your garden because it's therapeutic, that's different. You enjoy that, and it's part of your relaxation. That's completely different than if you've got a list of priorities and mowing your garden comes in there, and you need to think, what's the best use of my time in terms of monetary value? Then it's going to be more in the business type thing. So a lot of people say, pay somebody. So that's why it's important to have that. It's more of a mindset than anything else.
Definitely. So what do you value?
Yes.
How do you monetize? I think that's another thing that we looked at is when it comes to monetizing, what we do was when we discuss 2 Kings chapter 4, where she's actually able to produce something and she gives value to it. And obviously it comes back and aids her in getting her out of that situation.
Absolutely. And I think what that also does for you when you monetize your moments is that you begin to see the use of your time completely differently. Remember, we talked about how, yeah, it's okay, you can waste my money, but don't waste my time. Because when that time is gone, it's gone. And when you're at the stage, we say this all the time, maybe sometimes jokingly, but it's actually very serious. When we get to a certain stage in life where we need to actually put our full focus in securing the evening stage of our lives, we need to be more we need to take this monetizing of your moments more seriously. How are we using our time to make sure that we are securing that future? Because energy levels are going down. You're having more naps now. I know I'm having more naps. Today I slept. I slept most of this the early afternoon because I just felt the need to recharge after a difficult. You were on holiday, so I don't know. You have no excuse. I was working. but in all seriousness, we as we get to certain stages in life, we just have to then put a very, very high value on our time.
Because one of the things that the difference between the poor people and the rich person is that you can walk into a poor person's time or life anytime, don't make appointments, but you don't walk into
that is so
your managing
true.
director without
An appointment.
because they value